Hello, everybody. My name is Matthew Teitelbaum. I'm the director of your Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. It's a pleasure to welcome all of you, to welcome Michelle Wu, the great mayor of the city of Boston, and Anita Tavares, the Boston Elections Commissioner. We have a few things to share with you. Let me just say that we're really thrilled to be a host for both today and for subsequent election polling stations at the museum. Museums exist to be convening spaces for our community. They exist to allow our citizens to express themselves, and there's no greater value or expression of that belief than being open to the democratic system in our country. So it's deeply meaningful to us to be with you today and in future moments in our journey. So with great pleasure, I'd like to introduce our wonderful mayor, Michelle Wu.
Thank you, Matthew, and good morning, everyone. The MFA is an incredible treasure for our city, our region, our country, and the valuable collections inside really have worth most of all in bringing people together. As you heard, this is a space that has been an anchor for our cultural heritage, for our connectedness, for our communities for a very long time. And I'm so excited that it will also be home to the most powerful expression of our democracy right here where we are standing as one of our newest polling locations in the city. I want to thank also, and some of them are here, the employees of the MFA and the leadership of this incredible institution as they have reached their first ever union contract just about 2 months ago that includes the benefits that workers need and deserve to help keep our families rooted right here in Boston and demonstrating the collective power of our democracy. So today we are here to add to that right in this very space. Last October, the City of Boston expanded voting precincts using the most up-to-date population data and adjusting those lines for the first time in nearly a century. Boston is exempt from statewide regulations that require municipalities to update and adjust those lines every 10 years. And so we had taken that to we waited a century to do it, but now this means that there will be the ease of access, reliable, fast lines, if any lines at all, and more locations where our residents can go to make their voices heard. I want to thank the elections department and all of the team that have been working so hard for a very long period of time to get every detail of that right. So thank you, Commissioner Tavares. I see members of your team here as well. Thank you, Sabino, and everyone. It's not just a matter of population data on a screen, but really understanding how those lines fit with the state legislative decisions, cleaning up issues that had popped up over the course of nearly 100 years. And we are really excited that we're fully up to date now and ensuring that our residents can have the fullest access to the ballot. Just last month, the city's Board of Election Commissioners voted to approve these new polling locations like the one we're at today at the Museum of Fine Arts. These locations will help us create a stronger, more representative democracy by reducing the lines and wait times and making it easier for all of our community members to cast their votes. Now, for some voters, this does mean that your polling location will be different this election starting in just a couple weeks. Roughly 65,000 voters on our voting rolls will be voting at a polling location different from the one that you were assigned to at the last election. And to confirm your polling location, go to boston.gov/voting. It is about 16, okay, hold on, I have the number so I don't get this wrong. It is 92 precincts that have been shifted by this re-precincting process, including some new precincts that were created to help make the building blocks of our election system more manageable. And overall, it is 16 new polling locations, including the MFA. If you aren't registered to vote yet, it is not too late. You can register at the same website, boston.gov/voting. And the deadline to register is this Saturday, August 27th, to be able to participate in the upcoming elections this year. Once you are registered, please make a plan to vote. The logistics may be a little more complicated this year given our extra public transportation planning with the Orange Line trains paused and parts of the Green Line. And so we want to make sure that if you are going to vote in person on Election Day, September 6th, the primary, that you make a plan ahead of time of how you're going to get there and build in some extra time. But I also want to emphasize that there are other ways to vote as well that have been solidified by the state legislature. So we're grateful for their leadership. First, you can vote in person and early ahead of Election Day. Early voting starts this Saturday as well, Saturday, August 27th, and goes until next Friday, September 2nd. When you are voting early, you don't have to go to the polling place that is closest to where you live or the one that you're assigned to vote at on Election Day. The early voting sites are open to anyone across the city of Boston, and so you can vote closer to where you work, you can vote closer to where you're dropping the kids off at childcare. So please check out the list of all those locations. They are available and open on the weekends, and they are different sites on different days, and so those are meant to be accessible in many places across the city. In addition to early in-person voting, the second way you can vote is voting by mail. If you're already a registered voter, you should have received a mail-in ballot request form from the Office of the Secretary of State, and then filling that out, you'll get the ballot back by mail. To vote, then drop the completed form into a mailbox, and you can, I messed this up. You'll get the request form, you should have gotten it already. You can fill that out, send that back, and then you will get your ballot sent to you in the mail. If you did not get a request form or you still need one, you can again get that at boston.gov/voting. To get your ballot in time, because we need to build in a little bit of extra time for all the mailing back and forth, to do a mail-in voting ballot and to get it in time, make sure to send that request form in by this next Monday, August 29th. And then you want to just get that ballot back. You can also drop the ballots off at drop boxes in the city of Boston as well. So once you get that mail-in ballot, you can send it back in the mail, or you can drop it at one of the locations that look like post office boxes, but will be clearly marked as ballot drop boxes. Many of them are at polling places. And third and finally, of course, you can vote in person on Election Day, Tuesday, September 6th. Already, the Elections Department has received more than 12,000 mail-in ballots already that will be counted on Election Day. So we want to keep them coming and make sure that everybody has a plan to use one of those three options. Just one more reminder on our public transportation planning. If you live along the Orange Line, or you are planning to use it to get to a polling place early or on Election Day, you have some alternative options. There are shuttle buses that are running from Forest Hills to Copley, and then from Oak Grove to Government Center, and shuttling in between. There are free 30-day Blue Bikes passes available for all users. Rides up to 45 minutes will be free. And commuter rail rides boarding at a station within the city of Boston are free throughout the shutdown as well. Any station in zones 1A, 1, and 2, which includes every station in Boston, is free to board. You just have to show your Charlie card. And actually, when I took it, the last 2 times I've taken it, they didn't even ask to see the card. Wheelchair accessible vans are also available upon request at any of the stations, so that you can either get on an accessible shuttle, which requires a lift, and it's sort of a little bit tighter of a space, and you go through all the stops until you get to your stop, or you can go on a wheelchair accessible van that will take you directly, one by one passenger, directly to the station nearest your destination. Okay, before I hand it over to our Elections Commissioner, Inigo Tavares, otra vez en español. Buenos días. Hace 2 meses, más de 200 empleados del Museo de Bellas Artes votaron para ratificar el primer contrato sindical de su historia. Un resultado directo del sindicato que los empleados votarán para formar en noviembre de 2020. Ese contrato incluye aumentos anuales, beneficios de jubilación y transporte y mucho más. Fue una victoria que demuestra la fuerza de un sindicato, de un colectivo y el poder de la democracia. Y es la democracia de que estamos hablando hoy. El octubre pasado, ampliamos los recintos electorales aquí en Boston, utilizando datos de población actualizados por primera vez en casi un siglo. Y este mes pasado, la Junta de Comisionados Electorales de nuestra ciudad votó para aprobar nuevos lugares de votación como el que estamos hoy aquí en el Museo de Bellas Artes. Estos nuevos lugares nos ayudarán a crear una democracia más fuerte y representativa por reducir las colas y los tiempos de espera y facilitar que todos nosotros somos escuchados. Para algunos votantes, esto significa que su lugar de votación ha cambiado. Un aproximado de 65,000 personas estarán votando en diferentes locaciones en las últimas elecciones. Para confirmar su lugar de votación, visite boston.gov/voting, boston.gov/voting. Si no estás registrado para votar, todavía hay tiempo. Puedes registrarte en el mismo sitio web boston.gov/voting. La fecha límite para registrarse es este sábado, el 27 de agosto. Una vez que te hayas registrado, haz un plan. Los recientes cierres de la línea naranja y verde del MBTA probablemente afectan a los tiempos de viaje, así que es importante que todos sepan a dónde van y cómo van a llegar. Hay 3 maneras de votar este año. Primero, puedes votar temprano y en persona. Puedes venir a cualquier lugar de votación temprana entre ese sábado, el 27 de agosto, y el próximo viernes, el 2 de septiembre. Segundo, puedes votar por correo. Si ya estás registrado como votante, deberías haber recibido un formulario de solicitud de voto por correo de la oficina del secretario de Estado. Para votar por correo, solo tienes que depositar el formulario completado en un buzón y recibirás tu papeleta en unos días. Si por alguna razón necesitas otro formulario de solicitud, puedes encontrar uno en línea en boston.gov/voting. Para recibir su papeleta a tiempo, debes enviar tu solicitud de papeleta antes del lunes, el 29 de agosto. Finalmente, puedes por supuesto votar en persona el día de las elecciones. El martes 6 de septiembre podrás votar en el lugar de votación asignado. El Departamento de Elecciones ya ha recibido más de 2,000 votos por correo que se contarán el día de las elecciones, así que estarás en buena compañía. Si vives a lo largo de la línea naranja o estabas planeando llevarla a su lugar de votación, tienes opciones. Los pases Blue Bikes gratuitos de 30 días están disponibles para todos los usuarios. Los viajes de hasta 45 minutos serán gratuitos en ese sistema. Los viajes en tren de cercanías o commuter rail dentro de Boston son gratuitos con una Charlie Card o Charlie Ticket en Boston, zonas 1A, 1 y 2. No es necesario tener ningún valor en su Charlie Card o Charlie Ticket para viajar en esas zonas. Las transbordadoras de la línea naranja también funcionarán desde Forest Hills a Copley y desde Oak Grove a Government Center. Hay camionetas accesibles a las sillas de ruedas si se solicitan. Ayer mismo hice mi viaje a City Hall en un transbordador. Duró un poco más tiempo que mi viaje promedio. Así que si estás votando en el día de las elecciones, por favor, ten en cuenta a planificar tu ruta. Espero ver a todos en los locales electorales y ahora nuestro comisionado de elecciones, Nina Tavares.
Good morning, everyone. It's still morning. I just want to say thank you to Mayor Wu for your ongoing support of elections, and also thank you to Matthew Teitelbaum for opening up the museum for voting, as well as all of the other institutions such as Cyclorama, Artists for Humanity, St. Anthony Shrine, the Chinese Evangelical Church, the Fenway Center, and District Hall, just to name a few, for partnering with us to help deliver democracy to the voters of the city. Voting in the city of Boston is now more accessible than it's ever been. Voters now have over 30 opportunities to vote early in person at locations throughout every neighborhood in the city. We have also installed 21 ballot drop boxes across the city to make the return of vote by mail ballots easier, as well as drop boxes at all of the early voting locations, which will be available during the early voting hours. All of the other drop boxes across the city will remain open until 8 p.m. on Election Day. Please keep in mind that all voted ballots must arrive at the election department or at a ballot drop box by 8 p.m. on Tuesday, September 6th. And we are urging voters to make sure that they return their ballots early. If you have questions about your ballot, you can check the state's Track My Ballot system to check the status of your ballot. And if for some reason you don't see movement on the tracker, you can still make plans to vote on Election Day. I also want to add that the voter registration deadline has been shortened from 20 days to 10 days before the state primary. That means that the voter registration deadline is now on Saturday, August 27th, which is the same day as the start of the early voting period. Voters will be able to register and cast their ballot on the same day at the early voting location. But again, if you missed the early voting period, which ends on September 6th at 5 p.m., you can still vote at your precinct on Election Day. And due to all of the changes, we are encouraging voters to confirm their Election Day polling location by visiting our department's website. All of these now permanent measures allow more flexibility and voters more flexibility in choosing when they cast their ballot. Voting should be as easy as possible, and we hope that all of these new options just make it easier for more people to participate. And one last call is we are looking for Election Day poll workers. So with 20 new voting precincts means that we need to amp our volunteers. So visit our website if you're interested in signing up to become a poll worker. Our poll workers are the foundation of our democracy. We rely very heavily on them. So for more information on vote by mail, in-person early voting, or voting on Election Day, please make sure that you visit the election department website at boston.gov/elections, or you can call our department at 617-635-VOTE, or simply call 311. Thank you.
Any questions? Any on topic first?
How many poll workers are they short?
How many poll workers are we short, do we know?
I wouldn't say we are short. We are actively recruiting. We like to staff up for any unforeseen circumstances on election morning.
Do you feel prepared with the staffing that we have now?
Yes, we currently have approximately 1,600 poll workers.
Okay. Okay, and before we go to Charmin's topic, I just want to offer Matthew the chance, while we have you all and such incredible exhibits and pieces here, is there anything you want to add about what people can find also if they vote here and then want to come in the other door as well?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mayor and Commissioner, again for being here. You know, this fall we're going to be opening up another day of the week. We're going to be opening up in the evenings, another evening. My point would be that the museum is coming back. We've had a couple of years of stabilizing, getting through a challenging moment for all of us, but the museum is coming back. And I would say that the three of us, if I could, are joined in our work, and the museum is part of this journey to be institutions for all of Boston. And if you walked the halls of the museum and heard the staff talking about what our goals are as we look to the future, it's to do exhibitions, to do programs to engage students of all ages and our general public in a notion that this institution belongs to them. We are an institution that is part of Boston. We are an institution that belongs to all of Boston, and you will see more and more programming that commits that vision to be a reality in this building. So thanks again for being here, and I might say to members of the press, you're part of that, so thank you.
Mayor, Boston is, like a lot of cities, is coping with a teacher shortage. Can you talk about, it looks to us by looking at the job openings, it looks like hundreds of positions. How are you trying to recruit with just a couple of weeks to go before really school starts?
So, okay, I have some statistics here, just so we get a sense of the numbers. I will just start by saying, making sure that our young people and their families have everything they need is one of the most important priorities of any city government. And here in Boston, we have the potential to truly demonstrate what public education in 2022 and beyond should look like. Many of the positions, there are vacancies across all parts of city government. There are vacancies across many industries right now. And in education, there has been tremendous burnout. The pandemic and all of the stress and all the needs that our families have been facing really end up coming out in the classroom, and educators, school leaders have had to wrap their arms around all of our young people and just try to hold the world together amidst unspeakably difficult circumstances. And so we are trying to pour resources into the Boston Public Schools. We have created many new positions this year as well. And so with the addition of social and emotional support staff in all schools, there's not just a need to keep the positions filled that existed previously in the classroom, but also to now staff up new positions that are meant to support and add extra infrastructure. So just some data. We have 4,500 positions, 245 vacancies, and we are confident that the Boston Public Schools will fill these roles. There have been various outreach mechanisms and job fairs, and some of this will settle as people figure out their plans for the fall. And we will go into day one with every single classroom and young person having their teacher, and so this is not at all risking schools being able to open or classrooms being able to open. We are particularly looking to recruit paraprofessionals and substitute teachers. Many of the folks who had left the system or retired were in these types of roles, and so there are vacancies there, and we've been staffing up. And so just encouraging anyone who might have an interest or time and want to get that training, get certified. We're also reaching out to our nonprofit partners to help specifically with staffing up in those areas, as well as universities and colleges to help recruit for these positions. Two other areas that it would be, we're putting the call out, and if you are interested, looking for a career shift or wanting to come back to the district here in Boston, middle school science, we are looking for you, and ESL teachers, English as a second language teachers especially, and then in general, we are reconfiguring the district's special education infrastructure, and so there are some new positions being created there. The investments include new staffing in librarian positions, social workers, family liaisons, school counselors, and builds on what has been happening over the last few years to boost the number of nurses available in every single school to our students and families. We currently have overall over 11,000 employees in the Boston Public School system across all those various fields. Okay, I could go, you might have gotten this briefing already. We've already hired 996 teachers this year. This is our busiest season right now, and there will be a large number of applicants joining and being processed over the next couple weeks too.
I guess I would just ask, what is, when parents hear that there are hundreds of openings, to them, that might make them think, oh, this means larger classrooms. Are you concerned about that sort of thing happening?
No, we are ready for the school year. We have been planning and even ahead of schedule this year compared to previous years because so much extra effort and resources have been going into making sure BPS has what they need. We did create many, many more positions, and so we are looking to build an infrastructure and support mechanisms that really reflect all that our students deserve. We're not there yet, and so there are many openings, but rest assured this doesn't mean that we're crushing people together or anything like that. We are just going through our routine hiring processes and want to please help us spread the word that there are positions available, great jobs, a chance to work with the most brilliant, amazing young people anywhere on the planet here in Boston and in a city that really values public education. We just had our cabinet meeting earlier today and introduced to our cabinet our new mayor's office senior advisor on youth and schools, and children in schools, and so we will be standing up a children's cabinet that Rebecca Granger will be leading in partnership with Superintendent Skipper and Acting Superintendent Eccleston and all of BPS as well.
Are there any special incentives you're offering teachers?
I do not know that part, but we can follow up because I don't want to get that wrong just in case. Anyone else? Sorry.
Just going back to poll workers, if you're putting out a call, obviously you don't want to frame it as a shortage, but at what point can you assure the public that the number of workers you have is sufficient to process election results efficiently? Because we've seen some waiting in some years.
So I would say our happy place is approximately 1,800 poll workers. But in addition to the poll workers, we do recruit volunteers on election day. So with these new measures becoming permanent, we now know what to prepare for and what to plan for so that we can avoid any delay in results.
And then did you do any new security measures with the drop boxes that we have across the city, because we've seen those impacted by people who do things to it?
So all of our drop boxes are under 24-hour surveillance. They will also be locked at 8 p.m. on election day, and at 8 p.m. there will be a uniformed police officer stationed at every single drop box, just to make sure that anyone who is retrieving any ballot from the drop boxes is someone who is authorized from our department.
I did. It was great. There's a little more risk for me as someone who tends to be late and has a lot of things to do getting out the door with the kids and this and that. The commuter rail, because it doesn't come as frequently as the other lines, if you miss it, then you're kind of stuck for a little bit of time. But I built in extra time this morning, got there. There were I spoke with some of my neighbors who were taking the commuter rail a couple days ago before the shutdown and even yesterday, and they said it looked like just at our station in Roslindale, twice as many people coming and getting on the train. At each stop we passed by Forest Hills, it was standing room only, and so that is great that we're seeing people take advantage of the free commuter rail during the shutdown. That will last throughout the entirety of the 30 days. It is the fastest way to get downtown from some of our neighborhoods, because the stops are at West Roxbury, Roslindale, Ruggles, Back Bay, South Station, and then on the other lines you can come in from Hyde Park or along the Fairmount line up in through Dorchester to South Station. So it was air conditioned and comfortable, and I got on early enough that I did get a seat, and I'm very grateful to have that option.
Do you think it's sort of a hold your breath moment until school starts right now, because things seem to be going
Yes.
relatively smoothly?
Yeah, any year in our city, we always have a lot of extra logistics that come into play when kids are getting back to school. It is whether the school buses and the drivers are familiar with new routes and new pickups and all that means as people are testing things out. It's kids, whether they're a little bit late and the driver is trying to wait for them to see if they made it in time, or they're coming or they're not coming. So building all that in on top of the Orange Line pause in service is a lot of planning. We are almost there. I said starting when we got up to Friday night with the start of the subway shutdown, we were as prepared as we possibly could be for that piece of it. We still have a little bit of work to do to be as prepared as we possibly could be for the start of school, but we have a little bit of time to do that as well. There have been many specific targeted resources and programming and steps, and we're working on some shuttling specific to BPS in addition. But I think tonight we have a briefing specifically on Boston Public Schools and the Orange Line situation, 5 p.m. Great. Thanks, everyone.
I spoke with